All right. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight. Um, we're still, I guess, trying to figure out like the night that we're going to be doing these meetings. We meet once a month. We have been meeting on Tuesday previously, but there's like so many other user groups here in the area that meet on Tuesday. I decided to move it to the Thursday. But the Ruby user group is actually having their user group meeting tomorrow. So we are meeting tonight so we don't conflict with the Ruby user group. Uh, so that being said, I just want to go ahead and thank everybody for coming out tonight. I don't know how many people here are, this is their first time coming to a JaxNode meeting. But we talk about a lot of different types of subjects. So we start off being kind of solely like a Node.js type of user group, but we've kind of branched out to cover like other topics. We'll cover stuff like microservices, a lot of front end technologies. Like we've done a lot of meetings just on React, as an example. Um, but we've also done, mobile topics as well. This year we had a meeting on kind of like an overview of, what are some of the different ways for building mobile apps, just as an example. But we also, just in the last couple of years, we've been doing a lot of different presentations on AI and machine learning type of topics. And so we are always looking for people that are interested in speaking. So if anybody has something that they want to present on in a future meeting, please let me know. I will get you on the schedule in an upcoming month to present. That being said, I'm going to hand things over here to Michael Dimmitt, who's been kind enough to do tonight's presentation. And with that, I'm going to go ahead, Michael, I'm going to make you the host. All right. And we will get things started.
Hey, can people hear me? I guess so. All right, I'm gonna mute my audio and I'm gonna start. Cool. All right, this is just a quick, I guess, PowerPoint. Maybe this is like the way to introduce this. Let's see. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Uh, Today I'm kind of giving a talk on what I've been doing with Claude and with Cursor. And my hope in this talk is that maybe you'll come away with some artifacts that'll be useful for you. I don't know if it's gonna like get you like a fully fleshed out application, but um, I did my best to get something that you could walk away with. I'm just gonna talk about my process as I go along, where lately I've been making a lot of projects and I've been okay. That's it. Hello. Okay. So lately I've been working on a lot of projects, getting them out, getting them in front of people, getting feedback, and then iterating from there. Um, this might be like a part one talk. There's a lot more that I wasn't able to capture due to time constraints, but yeah, let's just see how this goes. So this is just a silly little graphic of like um, just we're just living in a world where we sprinkle magic dust on everything, and the shapes that we give the AI are important. If you're trying to solve a problem and you're having an issue showing something visually like a mind map, then you can change the document to a PDF or an SVG, and the different file format can then be in like a copy paste state that can go into Figma, and then it's like draggable. So often, if you find the right shape of the data, or if you find the right tool to give the AI, you'll end up getting better results. Um, yeah. And so one thing I've noticed with people who are using chat agents is that they're just using these chats and moving on. And it really helps you to have it write documents of the things that it's generating. This PowerPoint presentation was one of those quick documents to capture all the information that I've stored somewhere. I often use uh, my AI chat sessions just to offload all the information that's in my head, and then it can just live in that space. And then I turn that into documents that I can use going forward.
Internet or you ask the chat internet and then do you create a document or you ask the agent on the chat?
I usually ask the agent to create the document or modify an existing document. I'll show something in a bit. So normally what I do is I work with like Claude.ai, and I'll create a chat, I'll add it to a project, I'll start generating documents, I'll start adding those documents to a project, and then I'll export it all. I'll move it over to Claude Code. And usually when I'm at the Claude AI phase, I'm doing a lot of research, and I'm allowing it to do a lot of online searching on its own and break out of its normal context that it's trained on. And then I'm demoing it in front of people, which I can show you in a bit. And it's usually, I'll ask it to do something like make the poster, which will just take the entire conversation that I've had, turn it into a website, make it quite straightforward. And that usually leads to pretty good outcomes. And then that I end up later capturing into kind of like a client side web um, implementation. And then I persist it to something that can be worked on with a team, and that can be like it's all versioned, and it's uh, many different websites. Always very demoable. And then on the other side of this, I'm going to show you what I do with existing code bases to audit them, to uh, build out new features, and like all the MCP usage that I'm going and using. So I research in Claude AI, and then I export it to Claude Code. And when I do that, it's very client facing. And then I have like a concerted effort to port it into an actual application. And that's when I do things like search for skills. And that's when I do things like add all these workflows and mapping documents. And that becomes like the start of it all. I also have a lot of business documents that I have it generate that helps me to like break past just being a tech project and think about how do we like generate revenue? How do we think about our users? Okay, and then I have all these audit scripts where when I'm building something at large scale, I need to, without having to ask the AI multiple times, write these scripts that can use regular expressions to find patterns in the code, make sure that everything's in compliance so that I can deliver like a consistently good product. What tends to work, turning things into a poster. Sometimes I worked with one client who was job hunting, and it was they did have a document that was like an Excel sheet of what they were looking for, what their targets were, but we ended up making like 12 documents. Uh, and those documents, like 6 of them would feed this scoring engine that would then generate a new Excel document showing like what would be good jobs to pursue. That's pretty fun. That is, you typically ask for something called proxy signals to do that, where these can be scripts that the AI doesn't have to run every time. They can be automated that can help you to score things and understand at a glance, like and like try to organize things a bit. When I export things to Claude Code, I usually have like a file structure that gets generated, and I start to think about the technical decisions that we're going to need going forward. And then I also start generating these business documents, and I start looking for skills for the particular tech stack that I'm working in to basically uh, set the project up for success. So I have a repo I'm going to demonstrate, and it's still being built out, but it's basically a collection of kind of rules that have worked for me. I'm messing around with this one hook right now to understand how compaction works a little bit more, because I feel like we all avoid compaction like the plague. So I want to see if there's anything there that I can pursue a little bit further.
Is
The-
it more standard formats?
Hmm?
Something. I know that.
These are all going to be like, these are all going to be things that I wrote myself.
Like still folders is standard.
Yeah.
So these folders are standard names.
Yeah.
You can
This is going to be a repo that just has the skills that I use, ones that I find helpful, and then other resources that people can benefit from.
standard name.
No, that's something I came up with. The normal documents are your rules, your skills, your hooks. You know, you're gonna have your MCPs. You're gonna have a folder called docs, and I have a folder called prompts. It's just things that are pretty useful to, for instance, I have a prompt in there for exporting your project that should be helpful if you have a project on Claude AI and you want to export it. Okay. Yeah, so like some of the links that you're going to see today are, well, you're going to see the repo that isn't listed here, but it's the one that generated this PowerPoint presentation. It's it's called like documents for this talk. Uh, and it just has like useful skills and rules, mostly rules right now, but it's going to be built out a little bit further. And then there's going to be some links that I'm going to show you guys of other pretty built out solutions. With that, I'm going to move into the like some of the actual presentation. So one thing I can show you guys is let's just start with websites. Just go here. So websites is where a lot of my projects are landing right now. Whenever I export something out of Claude AI, it goes into websites. And I think I'm going to show you guys travel planning readiness. But basically the way that this works is like there's a master index file and then there's a versioned index file. So every time I make a change, it's going to add versioning. And it's just kind of like a glorified router that loads the other files. And it just helps me to quickly get things out. So like this is what it renders is just an index HTML file that as I like work through a chat session, at some point I'll say like generate me a poster, and then that'll make an HTML file. And so then I just have like a little smart router here that I can then open up, and I can get like kind of, I can get back access to kind of what I was working on, and I can like just demonstrate some of the information to people.
This is the conversation you have, or this is what you introduced?
Yeah. So here, like the conversation is being captured and then styled visually and presented to people.
It's only to view, but you can modify it.
Yeah, it's good you asked that, right? So, like if we were to go into I guess I don't have it in front of me, but basically what I do is after I generate this, I'll create a like a skin that captures all the styles related to the changes so that I can have like a uniform look so that when I go from this uh Europe itinerary planner to this one here that it's like a consistent look that's showing up. And then I'll also deconstruct like the engines behind these things. So like this is like a website that generates the exposure triangle and shows you like for your camera like what would be a good setting for your camera. And so I need to know all the business requirements that I've gathered as I've chatted with the agent. And so I write all that up into an engine that then creates like a template so that I can move on to the next um, version of the website and kind of have an iterative approach. Okay. But yeah, like the high level stuff I want to hit on is in the Claude MD. So as I move it over to Claude Code, what I tend to do is have it with a rule, and that rule says make a commit after every change, ensure that we're on a new branch when we're moving from a clean state to a non-clean state, and keep the uh, kind of the architecture MD, which is your kind of mapping document of the entire project. Just keep that up to date with a high level summary, just as you go, so that we know at a glance what all exists in the application. So anyway, that's like, this is not the example of like all the goodies and like this is just the user facing solution that I show people so that I can quickly test out websites. So like if I go to Claude and I go to projects and I go to travel, we can see like there are documents that were generated, and then I'll do something like give me a zip file of all the project files. And the actual thing that I do, I'm starting to capture it, and that's what part of this talk is. So I'll just go to the website and I'll go to prompts and some docs. Um, okay. What was that? It's called. Okay, I don't have the export one on me, but to have a few. Yeah, so this is like an example export prompt that you could use, which is like, I want to export this project so I can continue development, um, organize the files, create these files, and yeah, like have a handoff file written. And then we're going to, often I'll use this Claude exporter plugin, and I can go to the project itself and copy all of the chats that are in that project. And then I just move those over to transcripts so that if I need to, the handoff document can know to refer to all the transcripts as needed.
What if the Claude export plugin doing, I mean, that extension?
Yeah, so this is this is an extension where I can just come over here, click on this, and export all conversations. And so, what were you saying?
I'm not sure the microphone is.
Oh, you can't hear me?
I can. I think that's something people get it. No.
Okay.
So it's actually, you put that speaker over there. Yeah, that's all that. You click that.
Oh. Okay, tested.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's on, is there lights that turn on and on? Ready for power?
Test. Oh, what about now? It's blinking.
There's a speaker on it. The speaker does, what kind of green lights? It looks like the speaker that usually has lights. Yeah.
Test.
Hey, you know what? Dave, why don't you walk around, if anyone has a question, you can. Not bad idea.
There we go.
Just like-
All right. Often what I'll do now is I'll create something called an implementation and handoff template. So I don't know if you guys are using plans in Claude Code, but like a plan is just it gets written to your projects folder in Claude, and it does a pretty good job of organizing things for completing a task. But you run into some issues when you start to get to compaction that you have to solve around. So what I've been doing that works for me is I've been making an implementation and handoff template and or implementation and handoff document. And this is the template that spawns that. And so whenever I make one, I give it all these resume instructions on how to like read the documentation that exists in the project. And then it tells it to like pick the next item on a simplified checklist. And later it's going to create that checklist. And it basically like tells it to organize based off of like ticket number. And then more instructions of like run browser verification using like active IDE browser tabs. I use like VS Code and I use Cursor. So I use Cursor's browser agent a lot, and asking it to use the active IDE browser tab is very accurate. It works every single time. So what I'll do is I'll gather links to like URLs in the browser that can reproduce whatever state that I need, links to the Figma documentation that I need, and then it can tell me like what ticket that I need, and it creates like a really nice feedback loop for quick testing.
There's a planning thing you're saying, or?
This is so that I can write like my version of a plan that kind of lasts. Like instead of taking like one ticket, I can take like 20 tickets, write it all into a giant document, and then like tackle it until I hit context, and then just create a new chat and start tackling it over again.
Like this example of handoff template, or it's just a prompt creating a handoff.
So this is like a template. So I get all the tickets that I need through like an MTP to like Jira. And then what I do is I have it write all the relevant information in a kind of like a one line for each item task list of like what it's going to accomplish. And it captures like just what the parent tickets are. It figures out, because I use a script, it figures out like, the parent ticket been a part of a PR? And if it has, find all the files that it touched. And I have a URL builder in our application that like basically maps all the URLs in the application to the files that are rendered by that router. And then I use that as a mapping document that feeds this document. And so I add all of that information at the ticket level, but then I create like a pared down like one line implementation task list. And as it completes things, it marks it. And then when it needs to, it updates the resume instructions. And then whenever I'm like ready to continue, I have it look at this document that is created and then just say continue. And it tends to do a pretty good job. And so like basically I have a node script that generates this grouped implementation task list prompt. And then I add this prompt at the end where I say, read this document and create the grouped implementation task list prompt. So that's where like the AI comes into kind of reading through it and implementing like the pared down version of what we need to do.
I have a question. So I see you are using the web version of it, right? The Claude, yeah.
Yeah.
What about like, have you seen the difference between the desktop version and you saw versus this one? So,
What was the last part?
Pretty much the same.
the desktop version, the desktop version of the Claude.
Yeah, like Claude Code.
Yeah, platform.
They have a desktop
It's
that
very
has
similar.
cowork, regular,
Yeah.
this, the
Yeah.
prompt service and the code.
Yeah, and also like the browser version does have like a code section where you can basically do remote control.
If you're talking about the prompt section, it's pretty much the same thing, it's just, that's just the desktop app.
Right, but there is no forward.
Coworker,
The web version.
I guess I've never tried. Desktop.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you can do remote control on this, so that from your browser, you could access your computer as well. Okay, one of the things I wanted to show people was like the rules that I use. So like I have, I work for like the government, so we have to have like, when it picks subagents, even though if you do like a setting to make it so that it doesn't use Claude, the subagent will still pick Claude. So like I wrote a subagent rule that just uses Composer whenever it's activating a subagent. So like this is like pretty accurate if you ever need to like tell your subagent to do something. This tends to work pretty well. I always tell it at the end.
Question, what would be an example of subagent?
Yeah, so if I needed the AI to do like a browser interaction, it's going to call a subagent to do that task. So like it keeps its main chat going with you, and then it sends a subagent to go interact with the browser and then report back its findings, and then it reports those findings back to the parent agent and then makes its decisions on what to do next. Okay, so I have a rule here. This is like one of my favorites. It's just my default rule. At the end, tell me what rules were used, what commands were used, what skills were used. Tell me a proposed commit message for the changes, and tell me how much context I used. That's more of like a debugging situation, because let's imagine I have like my URL builder that quickly tells me like all of the files related to a URL. You ask yourself, like, is that cheaper for the AI to make a tool call to grep that and get that information? Or is it cheaper for the AI to like just go through the router and figure that out itself. So it is cheaper if you use like a actual script, like you grep it specifically. It's just a tool call, which is very cheap. But if you don't have like the correct wording for it, you're not gonna see like the gains. So it's kind of good to like just measure how much context is being used.
Does this are the actual cost?
These rules, they'll like show up on like your usage, but it's like quite low. Let's see.
Way to do that. So like, for instance, we're gonna go to, skills, I gave you skills, for example, one of the recommendations that project makes is not to go over 500 lines. Skill. I was curious, like, for some of these other, assets that you're using here, like, in this case, the, rules, for example, there are recommendations that you don't have as far as like the size of the files.
I don't know the recommendations Claude has per se. Also like it would be cursory with the rules, but Claude has like a Claude MD file. But my recommendation is keep the rules as small as possible because your rules are getting applied more often. Your skills are more passive. So I like these for areas like Git workflow where I need to be able to, how do I see this as a preview? Where I need to oh, it's an MDC file. I need to work on a team. I need other people who are not technical to be able to contribute to the project. This one commits after every change, makes a branch if it's in a clean state. It uses GH if they're using a GitHub project, and it creates a PR, and then it even merges the PR. And the beautiful thing about this is that it fills it with like a great PR description automatically. So it saves a lot of time. It saves time for me where I didn't realize like it took me 10 minutes to write PRs. And now it's just a confirmation in that regard. And then this is like Git LFS. We had a lot of really large PDFs in our project. So I have a rule here that anytime a session starts, it'll do a git status and check for any LFS tracked files. And then if it doesn't have it, it'll like brew install git LFS and get everything set up. So that the
What is a,
large file system. So
these are the files that you don't know what to.
GitHub can load them, but you get like a certain storage allocated to you by GitHub for using LFS that you wouldn't get with like a normal GitHub project. You get like an additional budget. So yeah, I mean, file naming conventions are like rules that I would use to kind of ensure like when we're making a change that the right files are added. This one could be a skill, but the great thing about having these broken up is you can like the way that you would turn it off is that you would like there's like I think you just make it like an ignored file, like a dot file. You can also move it out of the rules directory. Often working with teams, we'll do this personal dash default where we need that rule to exist for an individual person, but we don't need it to exist for the team. So we add that to the git ignore and we have like a personal syntax to keep from kind of colliding.
Do you load interval, optionally, want to, or, that in, on the skill?
Well, you can like call the rule directly. You can say like at and then rule and it'll read the rule. But I typically have like always apply on. And then you could do the same thing with a skill. And I've been thinking this git command workflow. or Git workflow should just be a command where I just say like / like commit or merge. And then instead of it running every time, someone who's not technical can just write like /merge and it goes through the whole workflow of adding, committing, and pushing. I think that could be like another way to present this. But often when you're interacting with the AI, having multiple commits as you go is like pretty helpful. So I still do kind of like this pattern with the rules to like auto apply. And there are ways to shut these rules off. And let's see. I have this skill when I am trying to like, let's say I'm starting a new project and my version 2 and I want to use Vercel and Supabase. I want to like go out and fetch all of the skills related to Vercel. So I'll use my find skill and it knows like to look for a skill anytime we're working on something new that's part of the ADRs that we're working on. Or just like any new item on the like technical roadmap. And I'll tell it like here are the marketplaces to look at, and it'll go out there and check for those skills and see. It does a pretty good job of like finding skills. So yeah, it checks locally first to see if there are any skills, and then like it reaches out to like Vinny, a guy I know has a like his own skills repo. And then like the skill will have like an anti-pattern like documented where it's like so that it doesn't make the same mistake again. Let's see, I have like a rule for like setting up a viewport for just like my quick purposes. And then in here is kind of interesting. So when you're using the IDE browser and it changes the viewport, some of the like inner workings of that IDE overlay on top of the browser so that like you can't like click on things like an apply button that's in the top right corner. So the way around that, like this is what I have the tool use when it's comparing against Figma, but then I have it use a different viewport when it's using local verification. And then when I need to just view it myself, I'll just click on the link again and it'll be like a normal viewport and it won't be hijacked. So that's why like I have very specific language in here. And oh, let me show you guys when I start to level up a project and get it to like its version 2 implementation. I have a repo called doc templates. And doc templates is it's a collection of like I was curious about the documents we make in our agile process or what the product owners always have. And I did a lot of research on that and came up with like it was like an Atlassian, like 150 template kind of website that I ended up on that had a lot of useful documents that I could pull from. And what I did is I then took a step back and said, how else could we approach software? It's not just about our 2-week sprints, it's about the design of things, and it's about like what is a product requirements document versus an execution plan that Claude is making. And I basically had it like think about all of these things and like an overview of software. So like we have like, we're in the trenches knocking things out. And then we have like our features and our roadmap. And then we have like discovery and we have like vision. And then we have like, how are we gonna make money? And like, how do we have a sustainable business model? So whenever I'm building a new project, I have a look at this. And inside of here is like one of the product examples. I just have it like look at the little template of it'll like create personas. It'll you know, create these features and all the like non-functional requirements and basically it just helps me to generate um, high-level documents about what I need to get the application um, leveled up. I typically have it just look at this one. This document just talks about like in the product life cycle what you might use and what phase you might be in when you use it. And then like just to check the boxes on, you know, I can just ask it to make me like a revenue model and it'll go do that. And I have like some transcripts where like I had the conversation to like find all the documents. And yeah, this is just a tool that I use to kind of help get um, a lot of that information. But yeah. Um, let's see. Show you guys scripts. All right, so a lot of what I do, someone said reminds them of this URL, which is called CC Rig. And how it works is like you you install it and you run it, and it just takes your current project and adds a bunch of documentation and kind of levels it up to his kind of settings. It gives you these slash commands, gives you different agents and like different skills. So it's kind of a website to check out.
Is that like per project or?
Yeah, this CC rig is per project. It's just a setup generator. And then this guy is on YouTube. He's pretty good. Matt Pocock, yeah. He's got like some interesting skills. He'll have like a grill me with docs where it like yeah, it's just he'll have like research on like reviewing your code with a skill. It's just a good resource to look at. And then I just put in like awesome cursor rules. And then like as you're interacting with Claude, there's something called insights, which can show you like based off your like patterns, like what recommendations it might have that you start doing. And I made like a project here called Insights Badger that basically Insights works for all of your projects, but Insights Badger uses the product folder or project folder in your Claude repo, and it generates insights for each of them. So it can help you to like get insights on all of your projects instead of just one. Yeah, so let's see. Is there, what should I show you guys? Is there anything you want to see? Let's see. I can show you scripts. So scripts is another kind of tool that I have that I find useful. First is like tell, it can tell me all the AI tools that I have installed, all the tasks I have installed, all the skills I have installed. And then it can tell me like what my RC files are. So I can just say like, just. So, and so it like goes through, figures out what I installed, and then it gives me like a updated summary at the end. Um, like it tells me like I'm using bash, and it also like generates some fun aliases. So like I have this one. Yeah, so C resumes your Claude session and it dangerously skips permissions. C chats lists all of your previous chats for a project. C resume F, it like lets you resume like dangerously like a specific Claude chat session. So you can list it and then you can resume F and go to that chat session. And this just makes it so that it doesn't ask you a bunch of times if what changes you want to make. Let's see. Yeah, that's
Previous sessions, that's the name, right? Entirely, I never had a session
yeah.
where I was doing something that might not have been necessarily the last time.
Yeah, that one is the C chats.
Okay.
There's a lot more I could talk about, but no. Let's see. Yeah, I showed Insights Badger. The one thing with this Insights Badger is it'll use up a lot of your like Claude tokens, so just be aware of that. One. Yeah. Let's see. I could show you guys repo map. Yeah, so here's like a project where repo map is basically it uses the GitHub CLI to go through every project I have on GitHub and get all the metadata. and then it has like proxy signals. So it uses like a scoring engine, and like it's got all these signals that it looks at, and then it um, generates like how costly it is to get those signals, and then it will it has personas where like if I'm a certain type of developer, certain projects are going to matter to me more than others. And then it like has all these categories where it tries to define like what type of project I'm working on. And all of this feeds like a scoring engine where it kind of calculates like how likely is it that this project is actually good and I shouldn't abandon it, so that it can like keep me from having like a repository graveyard. And so like each of these dimensions has like a weighted score. And so that you can run this, and then it'll basically like help you to figure out what projects you have that are actually useful. So that's a fun one. Okay. Oh, let me show you guys. So this is like a hook. So a hook would be like when you're in like a certain phase in Claude, like you want something to auto kick off. So like this is like the compaction hook that I'm looking at. And basically, when compaction occurs, it's going to look at your transcript. It's going to wait until session start, because that triggers when like there's like a before compaction hook, but then before compaction wouldn't know the summary that it generates. So it looks at session start. And so session start is running a command that basically just looks at your current project and puts in a folder like your compaction summary with like today's date, so that you can like just quickly read like what the AI actually um, summarized. But it doesn't cost anything because it just takes it from the Claude directory. And here could be cool where we just start looking at like the Claude directory and kind of how the Claude directory works. But I don't want to dive too deep. Um, let's see. Let's look at there's another rule I have, which is like the Figma rule. This one is like this one probably should be a skill, but basically, if I give it a Figma URL, uh, it'll like, well, this one's just general Figma. I have one where when I send it a URL, like in the browser, it'll ask me if there's a Figma link associated with it, or if I give it a Figma link, it'll ask me if there's a URL associated with it, and then it's able to like visually compare the Figma to that link. So it's just like a pause in the uh, phase of my development to gather that information, so that it has the capabilities to be able to create that tight feedback loop that it needs. But here, this one specifically solved a problem around the designer using a 12 grid system, and the AI wasn't picking it up. So the keywords that I had to use were like to use the Figma layout guide. And without that, it was missing the mark. And then by default, it was using Tailwind as like code references. And the application used Material UI. So I have to like tell it to avoid like those defaults that it's going to reach for. Um, mhm. And yeah, I think that's what I've got for you today, guys.
Thanks, Michael. Does anybody else have a question they want to ask or? No?
I had a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, since it is, or yeah. You go back to the, Claude AI and web interface.
Yeah.
Um. When you have a section you want to, export, do you have any, specific templates that you use for exporting to that conversation for the purpose of, sending it to Claude Code?
Yeah, so that's where I was talking about this export prompt. So I could actually run it right now. So I'll just go here. Copy everything below the line. So I want to export this project. So I'll just copy this and then I'll go over here. Let's just go to this one, astrology investigations. It's got a bunch of little documents here. I'm just gonna boom. And then it's gonna read that prompt and it's gonna give me a zip file with like a full project with like a file architecture and everything is kind of like figured out. So then it just gives me that as like a single zip file. So then I'll go over here to GitHub and I'll just create new, and that I'm gonna add to the doc templates, or the documents for this talk. I just haven't done it yet. But we'll just say like random. So. Uh, just make it a private repo and then I'll copy this, right? I'll go over here. Good. Good clone. CD into that. And then it's generating all the files. So it made like a repository. It's already like generated like the Claude ND file. It's made a rule. And this is because like it generated like a full like poster website. So it's already got like the poster and then it's got like, you know, some more like HTML stuff and then yeah, it's generating that stuff. So it's like writing it all down. But all those files like currently exist and then that all gets exported to a zip file.
So in your projects, you had all those documents, were those prompts or like master documents or just
Okay.
any type of document?
So if I'm in like a chat and not this one, like
Creating projects.
it's gonna generate like a doc, like if I say put this into a document, it's gonna generate it. And then once it generates it, I can click on it and then I can hit add to project. And then that's what adds it to that project right there. Yeah. And then once all that exists, then you can come in here and then you can just ask for it as a zip file and it gives you like all the information that you need. And then the next thing I would do is come over here and go to this exporter. And I could just go to like them one at a time if I wanted to and just say export current conversation and then go over here, export current. I can export all of them, but it's just faster for me to do the current one. And so then now I'm like getting them all here and then I can just like move them into like a folder for all that stuff. So yeah, it's just gonna be like cooking and kind of exporting all of that information. Did that answer your question, Ryan? Okay.
Very cool.
What do you got, Chad?
Okay. So I know this is strictly for Claude, talking about when you're like the coding sessions and whatnot. Do you ever run or have to run just to get another perspective? Other agents or to have adversarial reviews like Codex or anything?
Yeah, I don't do that. I see that other people like just about everyone does that. And I don't know why people don't just use the same, like a new chat session. Like one thing you can do, like if I'm in Claude, right? I can like open up a chat session or I can open up like an anonymous chat session. And that anonymous chat session doesn't know anything about me, right? So like that's what I would use to like vet something that I'm working on. And I actually had like a really good exercise on this where the one of the first things I learned was like I said like why is this code bad? And it had five like reasons why it was bad. So I fixed those five reasons, and then I said, "Why is this code bad?" And it was like, "You fixed those five reasons. This is great." But then I did it with an incognito window, and it kept finding five more reasons. So like, it, it kept finding it until things broke, till it added like performance optimizations, and then like things really broke, and then it would fix itself, find more issues. And so like the big lesson there is that it's just really smart autocomplete. So if it thinks you did what it told you to, it'll be like, great. But then if you like keep asking it in an incognito session where it doesn't have any context, it's going to just keep finding issues because it's just telling you what you want to hear. So like when it tells you to do something and you follow it, it's going to say you're great because it's telling you what you want to hear. Both ways, it's kind of telling you what you want to hear. So like that's actually one of the exercises I think everyone should learn. I think another exercise is this kind of like what I'm showing here. It's like not my best presentation, but it's like moving it from like a chat to a project to exporting it into like a GitHub repo, onboarding other people, and then like moving it to a version 2 and then like you get into like setting up your Claude Code in your IDE. I mostly use Claude Code in the browser and then adding cowork and then like setting up things like every time you get an email, you have something listening that gets that update and automatically triggers an action. So where you start subscribing to things. But I don't have that prepared today, so I can't like walk us through that. But I've seen other people setting up those workflows, and a lot of others will talk about orchestration. They're starting to get really big into orchestration, but I'm not there yet. So I mean, this is just where I am in my journey, trying to kind of share some of the knowledge with other people. Uh, we're all just learning here.
Right. Thanks, Michael. I was just going to mention that somebody came in earlier for the meeting started and brought by these sheets here about audit certified architect certification that you can get. And apparently, according to this is the first official Anthropic official technical credential that you can get. And they have information here about how you can take the test, and apparently it costs $0. So you can get a cloud certified architect foundation certification for nothing. So then that'd be valuable. I have all the sheets up here in case anybody wants them. I was going to ask a question of the crowd here. First of all, thanks to everybody for coming out tonight. This is the first time we've had more people show up than we had our SPPs. That's always a good thing. I want to get a show of hands from people like, how many people found out about the Dimmitt tonight from meetup.com? What? Meetup.com. Okay. Anybody hear about it through LinkedIn? Okay, good. Anybody hear about it through the IJAX Discord? Okay, 0 people. IJAX. All right. And how many people people heard about it from JaxNode. We have a Slack channel. Okay, two people, three. Okay, very good. All right. So we don't have a date set up for next month, but we will be meeting in July. Work out with the Ruby group, what they're meeting. And we'll be meeting here at the Air Garage. So everybody knows, usually after these meetings, we'll go down to DJ over out right by the Costco down the road from here. So if anybody wants to come, you're all invited out and how feel about 22 people showing up. So if you are interested, feel free to join us. Some of us will be going out there tonight. And with that, thanks for everybody for coming out tonight.
And Ryan, so you see like now the project's like uploaded. It just gave me like a full, like all the files existed. Everything was moved into a giant zip file. I just go and grab that zip file and then I just move it over and push it up. And then I say like, give me a commit message, right? Just gives me the commit message. So